that's a really good progression for me. That's like a really good exercise because I would say definitely play around with transferable exercises. So for example, that would be a key hack. You're going to get it nice and parallel. And as well, I would say a pro tip, definitely, I would say it sounds very, very silly, but just like.
What would your top 3 exercises be for getting the front lever?
Oh, front lever. Okay, that's a very good question. I would say you'd need a mixture of both, like kind of straight arm pulling exercise, a bent arm pulling exercise, and obviously like a static hold. So in terms of those 3, I really like the tuck raises or the mechanical advantage tuck raises. So what you would do is basically on the concentric, you'll do like an easier progression, and on the eccentric, you'll pick like a harder progression, because obviously you're a lot stronger on the negative on the way down. So for example, what you could do is if you're on a bar, for example, you could tuck up into a tuck, and then obviously extend one leg out and then kind of lower yourself down and do a negative of the front lever. So that progression is great because you can kind of like overload the muscles required for the front lever. So obviously if you don't have the strength to hold one leg out, you could then do like I said, again, that mechanical advantage raise. So again, tuck up and then kick one leg out and just control that negative. So that's a really good progression for me. That's like a really good exercise because you can really overload the muscles working for the front lever. So that would be probably like up there. Okay. Another one would be, I would say, just straight arm raises. So you could even do like half lay raise is a great exercise. I find like if you're close to learning the front lever, or if you can like almost do like a straddle front lever or something, then the half lay raise is a great progression, or even just straddle raises. That's a really good progression because again, it just reinforces the hip extension. So you kind of keeping your hips nice and straight and keeping yourself parallel. So I think that's really, really good. And again, a great straight arm exercise to build up that straight arm strength. And then lastly, I would say probably the tucked rows. I can't lie, the tucked rows. It sounds very basic, but honestly, they're really, really good because you're getting a lot of time in that tucked kind of front lever position. And again, if you're kind of like a beginner or like trying to progress from that advanced kind of tucked front lever position, then adding that row to your progression or like to the exercise is going to make it a lot harder as well, and it's going to help strengthen all the muscles required for the front lever. So those would have to be my top 3. So again, the kind of mechanical advantage raise, the half lay raise or straddle raise, and then the last one will be the tuck front lever row. So again, you could do this with a band as well to do like the full banded lever row. So you can kind of progress it like however you want. You can load it however you want.
But yeah, I noticed all those 3, they're all dynamic movements. So do you prefer those over like the static front lever holds?
So I think static holds should always be in your workout. That should be the priority. You should always start off with your static holds. That's what I would do because again, it's a good way to gauge your progress. So obviously you would like do like a hold, for example, of your max hold at a certain attempt or whatever it is, whether it be straddle or advanced tuck. And obviously time yourself, and then next week or a week, 2 weeks later, you can always retest that. So you have like a way of progressing yourself. You know exactly how to progress and like if you're progressing. So I think those static holds should definitely always be at the forefront of your training. However, you also should include that kind of dynamic work as well. I feel like that gets neglected on sometimes, and like I feel like if you're just doing one thing and just keep doing those static holds and you're not progressing, if you're plateauing, then I think that's a kind of an eye opener to you to kind of switch up your training program and make it a bit more intensive, and like just adding that extra bit of like you said, dynamic movement. So again, concentric and eccentrically kind of contracting the muscles in that kind of front lever position, it just makes it a lot more intense as well, and you're just getting the benefit of both really if you're doing stack holds and the more kind of dynamic stuff as well on top of that.
Okay, so you're using that kind of static hold as kind of like a baseline or a reference point to know if the other stuff you're doing, like the rows or the mechanical raises, to see if they're working, and if like your static's improving, then the dynamics are obviously helping. So is that kind of
exactly
how you do it?
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, I polled some of my audience just on YouTube, you know how you can do community posts. And I asked like what was the main kind of issue they were getting when they were trying to get into the front lever or into the whatever front lever progression they were doing. And overwhelmingly, the biggest problem or issue they had when they were trying to do a hold was that their hips would drop first. That would be the main issue. So regarding that, do you have any experience with why people might be experiencing this and what they can do to fix that specific issue?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like for the hips sagging, that's just down to your. So a lot of people, when it comes to the front lever, you rely heavily on your lats and your triceps, and also your core, obviously. So it's a mixture of your core. So again, being able that hip extension, so being able to thrust your hips and engage your glutes as well in that position, but also more importantly as well, that kind of shoulder extension movement. So the act of kind of pulling down as hard as you can on the bar. So that really fires your lats. So again, getting really strong lats helps with that, and again, to just kind of lock out that front lever and extend the hips. So I would say definitely play around with transferable exercises. So for example, the deadlift. So again, it's a weighted exercise, but surprisingly, a lot of people that can deadlift heavy, they're pretty close to already learning the front lever or have some decent front lever strength because of the action of the pull. It's very similar movement patterns. So, and again, you're loading it with extra weight. So that's the thing. Like when you get to a certain strength level, when it comes to calisthenics, your own body weight, you definitely want to progress it by adding extra weight. So for example, weighted pull-ups, weighted chin-ups, weighted dips, all of those exercises, because that's just going to get you stronger. And as well, when it comes to these harder movements, you're going to need a lot more muscle, a lot more strength to hold these positions. So in order to do that, I would say definitely include some kind of, you could even do some deadlift work, or if you don't want to do like deadlifts, then just do some weighted pull-up work, or you could even do weighted chin-ups, just anything that's going to get your back and lats and posterior chain a bit stronger. So I would say play around with that. You could, if you're thinking of a bodyweight exercise, I highly recommend inverted deadlifts. So when you're hanging from the bar and then your legs are piked up in the air and you thrust your hips, again, a great exercise because you're basically recreating that movement pattern. You're training that hip extension, and again, keeping the arms nice and straight as you pull. So if you don't have access to weights, that's a great bodyweight alternative as well.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, about that inverted deadlifts. Yeah, I recently did a video like 21, or no, it was actually I did another video which was 21 reasons why you might not be able to front lever, but another one I did was like a tier list of front lever exercises and ones that I felt like were the best and what you should put most of your energy towards. And yeah, I put inverted deadlifts on there, and it was like higher if specifically you had the issue of your hips dropping. So like you say, so yeah, that's good to know you feel the same way about that exercise, because yeah, that was a good one for me because I actually did that one. I think I saw like Chris Harrier do it like way back, and that's the only reason I knew about it. Yeah.
It's a great exercise, and like I said, the more you can practice with that, and again, just like you said, reinforcing that hip engagement, you're going to get it nice and parallel. And as well, I would say a pro tip, definitely record your sets. So always make sure you're recording your sets, because then you can actually see, like, if whether your hips are piked or whether you're like nice and level. So always record your sets so you know how to like position yourself, because then you'll understand, okay, I need to boost this a bit higher or drop this a bit lower, so you know exactly, you're 100% perfect, bang on, parallel all the time.
Do you have any tips for bridging these gaps between different progressions?
Oh yeah, for sure. So like, I mean, from top, all you could literally do is just start to like extend the knees further out. You're doing like a half leg position. So you could literally be from, if this is your advanced tuck angle, you could like extend that further out. You know what I mean? Slowly until that you're almost at a half leg position. So that's one alternative. Or you could even do, if your hips start to drop at that point and you're not ready for that, then what you could do is slightly start to straddle the legs in an advanced tuck position. So straddling the legs, and then eventually you could even do like a piked straddle. So even if the form people say, oh yeah, the forms look good, but even you by doing like a piked straddle, so example, your legs are in the air and your body's here and you're holding that, you're still kind of at least having the legs out, and it's like it's basically like an advanced tuck, but just because your legs are further at the end of the lever, it's just a bit more intensive. So at least you're getting a benefit of like, that extra bit of intensity. So even doing that kind of a hold is gonna get you stronger towards holding the front lever. So I would say kind of progressing it like that, maybe doing those pike straddle holds, or what I would do if that was in that position is kind of use a band as well to kind of like get into a straddle, or almost feel like what it feels like to be in a straddle, So that's gonna help with that, again, the hip extension, and just keeping you nice and parallel with the band, and get you feeling what it feels like to actually hold it in that position. But definitely to bridge those gaps, I would definitely try and again either straddle the legs when it comes to the advance, and it's like almost like a frog kind of position where you're just like, or like proper piked with the legs wide, because that's gonna like make the intensity slightly more intense, but not too intense to the point where it's like a straddle front lever where you're just gonna you're not ready for that stage and you just crash. So definitely utilize the bands, or do that kind of like into like immediate stack hold between the two.
Yeah, Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because yeah, for me, I didn't go like advanced tuck straight into straddle. I had to do the frog one, which I feel like a lot of people don't know about, or I don't know, they don't like, you don't really see it a lot. You see the advanced tuck and straddle, but not really in between. Yeah, so that's what I use. Going on from that, so like we just talked about this frog kind of front lever that a lot of people don't know about. If you were teaching someone from scratch right now and you had to pick only static progressions, what ones would you pick as like a nice progression set to follow to get all the way from nothing to the full front lever?
Definitely the advanced tuck. I'll tell them at least, or go from tuck. So being able to, the ability to tuck and then kind of bring the knees out to advanced tuck without allowing the hips to sag. That is probably like a key kind of progression to kind of build up the strength towards. So I'll say that static hold. Then obviously I would say, I would highly suggest, probably one leg in, one leg out one, or straddle. Like it depends on the person. Some people really have really weak, tight hips, or like they have really weak glutes. So the straddle, they find the straddle harder than the actual full front lever, which is funny. But it just depends on how your body's, your strengths and weaknesses within it. But definitely I'll say one leg in, one leg out is pretty comfortable for a lot of people. So I'll suggest that one. And again, you can scale that by, again, edging the knee further out. So again, if you have one knee in, for example, like here, you can kind of slowly start to, you see what I mean, straighten out the leg. It's a good way to kind of level up progress, track progress. And same thing with the straddle. You can start to do holds where you're just slowly bringing the legs further, closer in together. So it's like, it's a great way to scale it. So I would say those two as well, or those three. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so yeah, it seems like your kind of method for learning the front lever is these minuscule kind of increases in intensity until you get used to it, that with perfect form, then moving on, minuscule increase rather than this progression.
Because trust me, like doing that is just too big of a jump. Like you said, from advanced upward to straddle is such a massive jump. It's like the body's not ready for that. So like you said, you need those little minuscule kind of progression, because that way as well, it's going to keep you motivated and you're going to still see progress. And it's a good way to track. Because if you're just trying to jump straight into straddle and you can only do like a tuck or advanced tuck, I can guarantee you're just going to be like, this is impossible. Like, I don't know how to progress from here. Like, so they really do to motivate you or keep you motivated, and then as well to give you kind of a guide to progress.
There probably isn't one massive secret to getting the front lever, but if you had to give some kind of guide, like if someone was trying to get this as fast as they could, or while being safe, while doing their proper warm-ups, what kind of advice or tip would you give them to get it like potentially as optimally as they could? Would it be like a certain exercise, or like, what do you think?
I would say it sounds very silly, but just like get stronger, if that makes sense. So just get stronger at pulling, if that makes sense. So whether that be by doing weight ups or weighted chin ups, just make sure that you are strong, you feel strong. Where you are, then when you practice these progressions, you will be better prepared for it, if that makes sense. So I've been in a situation where I've trained the front lever in the past, especially when I was at the start of my training, and I just wasn't conditioned enough. I wasn't at a certain strength level to be actually to hold it, if that makes sense. Like I was doing weighted pull-ups maybe, but like only with 10-20 kilos. And it's like for the front lever, you need to be, I would say, having a solid weighted pull. Like, you know what I mean? You should comfortably pull maybe like 40 kg for at least one rep, you know what I mean? As an example. So kind of using that kind of strength, your base level of strength as a guide to where you're at would be a kind of key goal. So if you notice that, okay, wait, I'm not really comfortable with pull-ups, I'm comfortable with doing weighted pull-ups, I'm not really that strong, then you need to go back to the drawing board, build up some strength, and then when you then start to train, you know what I mean, friendly, you'll be better prepared that way for it. So I would say that's like a very, I would say that people neglect that or don't, you know what I mean, take that into consideration, because everyone just jumps straight into the progressions, you know what I mean? So everyone knows about the progressions, everyone knows about the stack holds, using the bands, all of this stuff, but no one really talks about, their base level of strength. So I think that's key. That's very much key. So I would say if that's one thing that could kind of like speed up your progress, making sure that you're strong.
Okay, I gotta say, I have to agree. If I had to say there's probably like a secret to the front lever, it's just basics. They get them so good, they're almost not basics anymore. So you're doing weighted pull-ups for like massive amounts of weight, compared to your own body weight. Because I think I've seen like stuff online, like calisthenics kind of research where people have polled like advanced athletes whether they could do the front lever planche and then how much they could, do of the basics in terms of weight. And they saw that like most of the people that could front lever had really high weighted pull-ups. So yeah, like
it makes sense, right? So the stronger you are, the more likely you are to learn and master these harder calisthenics skills. So you're just in a better position to learn them, and that way you won't feel frustrated with your progress. If you're doing these holds and you're not seeing no progress, then let's look back and go back to the basics and proper, you know what I mean? Draw your foundations, and then again, like whether that be increasing the weight, making sure you're pulling nice and heavy, being able to do that, having that ability will just better prepare you already for that front lever. So yeah, that would be a key hack.
Yeah. So it sounds dumb, but yeah, guys, just get strong. So start working on the weighted pull-ups. Start getting really strong, and then the front lever will come. Yeah.